Hello, this is Anthony Manning, and welcome to My Journey to Kent. My traveller this time is Aarish Hyder from India, who is studying law with us and who has also been an active advocate for the rights of international students across the UK. Hi Aarish, thanks for joining us today. I wonder if you could tell us a bit about where you call home.
So I'm from Jabalpur. It's a small city with a mixture of commercialized big businesses area, and then there's this residential area. The place I live in is quite interesting because half of my city is controlled by military, and they manage the whole area, like how clean it is, what kind of um shopping center and all of those places are available. And to decorate the city, they have those war memorial tanks from World War, and like the real ones, they just keep it there, like have a look when you move around here.
Great.
So yeah, this is similar to Canterbury somewhat, but yes, somewhat similar. That's why even this place, I mean, I have been here for like 4 years, and it feels like home as well.
Yes, so you feel at home in Canterbury now. Great. And
Mm.
so when you were preparing to come to the UK, was that something that you felt very comfortable about? Had you been to the UK before, or was that a big decision?
That was really random, actually. People ask me like, "Oh, how long have you been planning?" But always my answer is, I was in my high school. I mean, more like secondary school. Like when I was 16, 17. I was like, well, I want to be a lawyer like my family, and I was like, but I want to be a really good one, like the top class. I was like a really good student of my school, so I started exploring options like what is available. I went around India and I saw some universities, and they were quite interesting. Then I came across the idea that all the major leaders of the world, at least most of them, were once barristers, historically speaking. Like the person who liberated India, Mahatma Gandhi, he was a barrister. The first prime minister of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he was a barrister. And just name it, like all the great personalities. And being a barrister in itself is a big thing. And as it might not surprise you, only you can only become a barrister if you are called to the bar in England and Wales.
Yeah,
But
so you had that
yeah.
desire to be a lawyer from a young age, is that right?
Oh yeah, my family is lawyer. Like my mom's a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer, my brother's a lawyer. So
Great. So that's it, really in your blood to get into the legal profession.
yeah, I wanted to add something to it. Not just be a follower like a rat or something. I wanted to be like, well, I'm gonna add a new dimension to it, and here I am.
And can you tell us what led you to choose the University of Kent? Because obviously you've got lots of options.
Right. Um. So usually to become a barrister, you need to go through 6 years of studying, or 5 years back in India. And only there are really a handful of universities which are recognized by the Indian Bar Council. So if you study from these universities, only then you can practice in India. I was an undergrad student, like I was just 18, and there were like a handful of choices. The University of Kent was the best one. The only one I applied for, the one I got.
Oh wow, well lucky us. And I know you've been very active as a student since you've been at the university. Can you tell us some of the things you've done along the way?
Um, I can't start to name all of them, but I'll just talk about a few. So the most important, or I would say the most significant project I worked on while at university was while being international student officer. And at the beginning, it was just like, yeah, I'm your president, guys. I'm gonna be doing things for you, events and all. Eventually, I saw the bigger picture. The breast inside me ignited, and I was like, I want to fight for the rights. That's where the post-study work visa campaign began, and I used my well. In India, you culturally have good networking skills, so I used those skills and built up a network in the whole southeast, expanded it to whole England, and we all protested together. And I guess we all know what the outcome was by now.
Yeah, very positive outcome with the return of the post-study work visa coming in later this year. So that was a very positive outcome that your activism supported. That's great. So we're talking about a journey today, a journey from your origins in India through your studies with us. And one of the questions I would like to ask you is, in your metaphorical luggage, what would you pack? What 3 items would you pack in order to serve you well?
Well, to answer this question, I'm not gonna speak metaphorically. I'm gonna speak literally.
Good,
Food,
fine.
food, food. Um, it's food. It's just so important. I get like in the UK there are diverse cuisines, no question on that. You have Japanese food, Italian food, French food, everything. But at the same time, there is this one food you've always loved, something you've had from the beginning of time, I guess, for you. And there's just a bond with it. You can never replace it. So, and I'm a big foodie, so it's mostly instant noodles and like Indian spices and food and clothes, a lot of clothes.
Yes.
Well, it's winter, in India, it's just warm. It's nice,
Yeah.
warm. You go wear a t-shirt, ride a bike in the
Has
UK.
that
Well,
taken you time to get used to the difference in the climate?
it did. Or actually, the first year was more like the adrenaline I had, just running around. Just it's fine, it's fine. After a few years, you realize, well, it's actually cold. Just layer up a few things. Well, it's not a bad thing at the same time. I can, layer up, be more trendy, fashionable, if that makes sense.
Great. And so, you've told us about your ambitions to become a lawyer and your choice to come and study with us, and that also some of the things you've done outside the classroom while you've been studying with us. You've made it sound very easy in terms of your transition, but everybody meets obstacles along the way. Have you met any? What are they?
Uh, so, in my first day, actually, my first 3 days of the university, right? I wanted to go home. If someone would have got me a taxi and be like, sit on it and you're gonna get home, I would genuinely have. The dragging force behind it, well, I was 18, never moved out of house and never cooked food. And I know this sounds like a spoiled brat kind of thing, but it was just not for me at the beginning. Um, it was bad. I was in my room.
What helped you change that situation into a positive one?
Well, my flatmates, some of them were European, some of them were British, and we just started like kitchen is the most common place, right? You have to go there to fill up water. Well, you have to. We started talking to everyone. At the beginning, the language barrier and all was different. And at first, it all feels like, how do I say it? You're like you might have the idea that they are better or they have a better experience than you and those kind of things. But the whole idea is that when you meet someone, you have had your own journey. They have had their own journey. Both journeys are important and both journeys are as exciting. So being sure about that, it took me a while to develop this, but it is something really significant.
So you mean learning from other people and listening to other people's experiences?
Yes, at first you might assume that, oh, the person knows better, so it's just might as well just not talk and listen and learn from them the whole time. But it's the right balance. It's not about you can't be a sponge and absorb everything.
Yeah,
You
you
need
got
to reflect on them.
brilliant. So it's kind of having the confidence to participate as well as to listen, and the combination of those two factors. That's really interesting.
Mhm.
So along your way and through those experiences you've described, what do you think has been your biggest life lesson so far?
Um, well, you face an obstacle, you step down, you get up, you brush yourself up, dust yourself out, and start walking again.
Yeah, so it's having the tenacity to continue and to learn from mistakes and move ahead. Is that the kind of message?
Indeed.
Great. And so in your experience now, after the number of years you've been studying with us, what advice would you give to other students who are following in your footsteps?
Just I would say be excited. This is something not everyone can either afford or achieve. If you made it here, you deserve to be here, like everyone else in your room, flat, university around you. So just be proud about it and just let the experience it. Don't rush towards something. Just live every day like it's the best day of your life.
That's good advice. Thank you, Aarish. And so we've been on a journey with you so far, but we're interested now to hear a bit about your future and your plans for after graduation. You've given us a hint about your aspirations in law. What is your next destination?
Yeah, like I've blabbered a lot. You mentioned about being a barrister. At the same time, being in my final year, having to do my grad degree at the same time, figuring out what's next, filling application forms, which takes hours and hours, is hectic. But I have been aspiring to go to apply. I'm applying for Magic Circle law firms as a substitute, you could say.
Yeah.
As like there's this distinction between lawyers as barristers and solicitors. So the law firm, the person who works in a firm is a solicitor. The person who goes to the court is a barrister. The distinction is important because in one, being a barrister, you do your work, you get paid for what you do. Solicitor, on the other hand, is like a fixed job you have, you get salary. With the current dynamics, it is super anxious to be a barrister and the market is oversaturated. So even though it's my main aim, final aim, I am really open to options. Like it's just something you can't rush towards.
Yeah, so you're looking at the opportunities in various directions to keep your options open, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's also good advice, particularly in these challenging times. As you've said, you need to keep your options open and look at where the opportunities arise. I think that's a great idea. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey with us. It's been brilliant to hear about your experiences and your aspirations. Thank you, Aarish.
Thanks a lot.